Thank you all for joining episode 5 of our MHI Insights webinar, NetSuite for the beauty industry. So today we're going to be discussing how NetSuite's helping leading beauty companies continue to grow and expand by streamlining their back-end operations, financials, and other business processes. So today everyone's mics will be muted, but if you do have a question, please send it in the chat, and we'll be sure to address it during the Q&A session here at the end of the call. So jumping right in, for the speakers on the call today, first off, my name is Jake Murphy. I'm an account executive here at Myers-Holum. Myers-Holum is a premier implementation partner of NetSuite in the health and beauty space with a sole focus on NetSuite ERP, e-commerce, and integration development, as well as data management. So joining me from my side are my colleagues, Alex Epstein, the NetSuite practice manager over here. He'll be taking the lead on our panel discussion. As well as Charles Carson, solution architect at Myers-Holum, who will be leading the demonstration. Also on the line, we have Sam Whitaker, regional vice president of the health and beauty team at NetSuite, as well as James Tagliani, CFO at Credo Beauty, and Karl Trepaneir, VP of operations at Ilia Beauty. So the agenda today, we're going to go through a quick introduction to NetSuite, followed by a demonstration of the software of NetSuite for beauty companies. Following that, we'll talk with James and Karl about their NetSuite experience at both Ilia and Credo. And finally, we'll wrap it up taking any questions that you may have in the audience. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Sam for a quick intro into NetSuite.
Thank you, Jake, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to see everyone here today. And just quickly to kind of give a quick overview of who NetSuite is and what the purpose of today is to help you guys understand fundamentally about NetSuite from a business perspective. NetSuite is a 23-year-old software company now. We were founded back in 1998, and at the time, incredibly modern for what we were trying to accomplish. We were the first cloud company when it comes to the way that we've architected our application and the way that we went to market. So over the past 20 years, we've seen an exponential growth of our customer base with over 22,000 different customers now, and we're growing at an exponential rate of adding about 4,500 customers on an annual basis. NetSuite is a global-based organization. So we have offices around the country, around the world, but we also have customers that do business around the world as well. With record growth and ultimately an amazing application to support our business, our customers, NetSuite has over 200 different countries that we do business in today. Want to go to the next slide? What we see currently in the marketplace from a health and beauty perspective is common problems from a disjointed customer experience perspective. As you can see on the diagram on the left, a lot of organizations have disparate applications with different places where data sits. And that creates scale issues. That creates duplicate data issues. It also doesn't allow you to have true visibility of what's happening in the organization. It allows for error, and it also can slow your ultimate goal of growth and hitting those next milestones of kind of where you are or where you want to go. From the diagram on the left, you can see that we have just an example of a kind of a current landscape of what we tend to see from an organization perspective. We see Amazon or Shopify. We might see other marketplaces. We also see a tremendous amount of Excel. QuickBooks is kind of the system there. We might also see 3PLs or multiple locations from a warehouse distribution perspective, and then disjointed reporting. All of these different disparate applications create challenges for any business, specifically and especially from a health and beauty perspective. Next slide. So what is NetSuite? Why, right? NetSuite ultimately is a single source of data. We really want to kind of bring all those different systems together into one place, allowing you to have a single view of the truth. This is going to increase your productivity. It's going to increase your customer satisfaction. It's going to cost you less to serve, close your books faster, help you understand kind of what's happening inside the business, and being proactive around what might be the problem in order to kind of solve that before it really becomes a true issue. The idea as well is to help you scale and grow. NetSuite as a platform. We have an amazing opportunity for you guys to start to see what that growth trajectory and help support that from an application perspective. NetSuite's core financials, sales marketing, CRM, supply chain, commerce, even WMS, as well as full reporting, all built within one application, allowing you the opportunity to have a true real-time view of what's happening within inside the business. Next slide. So when we kind of turn into the next, so now we've got this great application, it's how do we deliver it? How do you kind of get it to kind of work for you? And the idea is we use a tool called Suite Success. And this is something that Myers is going to help us kind of navigate as well. But the idea here is to bite small and chew fast, ultimately allowing you to be able to kind of walk into the application over time and accept it in that short period of time. To build, then we engage, we consume it. And once you guys are consuming the application, you're able to then optimize it and kind of grow into it. Again, it's kind of biting small, chew fast, and be able to kind of start to crawl, walk, run in the application, making sure that time to market, time to value is there. Quick implementation, getting you on the platform, and then kind of growing into this as over a period of time. And we do that using our stairway kind of approach. And the idea behind the stairway approach, if you want to go to the next slide here, is really around kind of establishing yourself and then elevating and kind of growing in through the application over a period of time. So if we think about kind of the house analogy or the building analogy, if the foundation isn't strong, you're not going to be able to kind of get tall. And so some organizations look at saying, hey, I have a problem, and it's around something, a very high-end kind of an issue. Well, if nothing at the bottom level is correct, and the data is not correct, and the information is not correct, then how do you try and kind of sort out the things at the top? The idea between this for the stairway is really kind of establish, elevate, expand, accelerate, and then dominate the marketplace with inside of your field and inside of what you're doing. And we do that by kind of this delivery methodology that is designed to be able to kind of grow with you, accept with you as things change, as you develop, and as you kind of go through that journey as a customer with us. And that's the whole objective of around being able to kind of move fast, yet also at a pace that is manageable and reaching your milestones and your compelling events as we kind of go through that piece. So as a whole, that's kind of who NetSuite is. And I'm going to hand it off here into the next piece and kind of talk a little bit more.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sam. And yeah, at this point, I will hand it off to you, Charles, and let you take over for the NetSuite demonstration.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. So I'll start sharing my screen, and we should see my NetSuite environment. Just want to confirm.
Yes.
Jake. Awesome. Yep. So what we're going to walk through today is, just some of those leading practices through Suite Success for health and beauty companies, that NetSuite's established, and really, highlight, the core workflows that are really there to support the health and beauty industry, and as well as some of the functionality around it. So when we first log into NetSuite, we come to one of our Suite Success dashboards. So NetSuite is a role-based system that each individual user can be assigned one role or multiple roles depending on their job or responsibilities within the organization. And these dashboards can be a one-stop shop into a peer view of everything they need to understand within their realm to, one, make decisions, and two, understand where they may need to dig deeper to understand more things about their sphere of influence. So right from my dashboard, I can see information about key performance indicators, certain scorecards, different trends and graphs, as well as maybe some KPI meters, as well as a useful reminders portlet that's going to give us proactive triggers for certain things within the business that we're responsible for. Maybe whether it's managing our items to order by exception, different sales orders as they move through a process, and what action we may need to take. So, making sure that things don't slip through the cracks throughout your organization. And while these dashboards, again, come out of the box and are going to be completely tailored to the role that your user is in, like a KPI portlet for a CFO is going to be all around financials and expenses, or one for sales and marketing might be more tailored to new leads and opportunities and closed business. We can also completely configure these dashboards to show the unique and actionable metrics that are important to your specific organization. So using point-and-click software, maybe if I wanted to add a new KPI meter to my specific dashboard, I can select the type of portlet I want and have the flexibility of choosing from a multitude of different KPIs that I want to track over time. Maybe in this case, it's expenses. So now I'll have this new KPI meter right on my dashboard every time I log in to understand how I'm trending my expenses over this month. From our dashboard, there's also a multitude of different ways of navigating through the NetSuite system, whether it's going through our recent records where I can see a list of different pages within the NetSuite ecosystem I was recently on, whether it's a transaction like a sales order, a record like an item, or maybe like a report I was on. I'm quickly and easily able to navigate back to whatever I was, viewing should I get pulled into a meeting, a phone call, or maybe it's the end of the day. Just like any other type of browser, I'm able to favorite pages within that NetSuite system. Maybe it's, forms for certain actions that I take every day. Maybe it's a certain report that, I check every single day so that I can easily navigate back to. Can always easily come back to the home screen. And I'm also met with, a very intuitive drop-down navigation per my role. So if I want to look at specific financial reports, maybe I'm looking for my balance sheet. NetSuite has this very intuitive control panel that allows me to quickly and easily navigate there. But my favorite way, and one of the quickest ways, is actually using our global search, where I'm able to put in, a multitude of different character combinations, and NetSuite will report back, any record, transaction, entity that matches that combination. So for 1, 2, 3 here, I can see, all of my different transactions across my different transaction types that match that transaction number in the system. Or maybe I want to look, from ABB, you can see I've got some employees named Abby, a contact named Alexander at the Abbott Inc., one of my customers, or even just that customer record in and of itself. So a really easy way of navigating through. But the great thing about the dashboards as well is the ability to drill in to understand the underlying data. So if I see my revenue is up 6.4%, maybe I want to understand more about the current revenue structure. So I can drill right into this 2.5 million and be taken to my income statement, where now I'm able to see across my different revenue accounts how I'm getting to that specific number. From there, I'm also really easily able to slice and dice this information further, whether it's across my P&L with different departments, locations, or even classes, which can be more of a catch-all, whether it's product category. What we typically see as well is, across different sales channels. So I can see, my revenue and P&L by my Amazon sales channel. Maybe it's my direct-to-consumer online website, or maybe it's even the boutique retailers that I'm selling to through my wholesale channel. And from the step here, I'm able to take it a step further by drilling in maybe to that B2B boutique retail revenue to see all of the transactional detail within this period. So now within that sales channel, within 2 clicks, I've been able to go from a dashboard into all of my invoices for this month for that specific channel. Coming on down through, I'm even able to go 1 click further to a specific transaction detail. So if I'm looking for maybe makeup and stuff, I want to understand what's on invoice 837 right here. So again, 3 clicks, I was able to go from a high-level KPI to a consolidated report to my transactional level detail, and now to understand everything about a specific transaction from, again, who the customer was, what was the account in the terms, was there a specific lead source that this invoice and sales order was tied back to? So we can, set up marketing campaigns within NetSuite and be able to tie back the return on investment of our marketing activities. Even the specific items that were purchased, all within, that audit trail within the NetSuite system. And the great thing is, with the unified platform, as I break out my GL impact here, any transaction is going to be natively and automatically interacting with our GL. So as we go through today and we look at a little bit more about sales and work orders and purchases, NetSuite's going to automatically be GL impacting these activities back to our GL so that everything on the dashboard, whether it's or anything in any type of report, we understand we're looking at the most up-to-date information. So maybe from that, that transaction, I want to look a little bit more into this, true skin serum foundation that was sold on that transaction. So let's look at, the journey of this item through our NetSuite ecosystem as it would walk through, your health and beauty business. So it all starts with the item record, which, gives us the foundation for how this item is going to interact throughout the organization, from, how we want to specifically stock this item, to how we want to segment the item, to even how we want the item to interact across our different, process flows. from how we want to, cost the item, or even setting specific triggers on, how do we want to plan the item at multiple locations. So not only do I have the visibility into what I have on hand, but also have we set any specific, purchase lead times or safety stocks at the location, how we want to lot size for our purchasing, as well as visibility into, okay, not only do we have on hand, but how much is actually available given, committed sales orders out there. This is also going to feed into, how we essentially price these items as well, being able to price across, multiple different customer types, whether we want to give them, alternate price levels, or even if we want to price specific to a sales channel, we have the ability to pull that in as well as across different quantity discounts. And overall, just the ability, to understand, how these specific items are impacting our bottom line. So, like we just showed, any type of invoice purchase is all going to hit our GL natively within NetSuite, and this unified platform is what gives us the power here of understanding our margin in real time, as well as understanding different trends. And I'm showing this, on a micro level here, but what this truly allows us to do is to pull in to different types of reporting. So, and what we can also do through segmentation is set up what we call a merchandise hierarchy, which is going to give us that family tree effect. So if I'm looking at a macro level, maybe I see, my makeup has a, 66% gross profit. Maybe I want to understand more about within this family, what I can do to promote products to drive, a higher bottom line. So I can start to drill down through my hierarchy to eyes is really what's starting to drive that. And I can see all of the eye products, what the total revenue has been, the percentage of total revenue, and what's really driving that gross profit to allow me to, from a sales and marketing perspective, hone in on how I can, really start to grow the business. And looking back, at the specific planning functions, now that we've set, the planning, requirements for an item at a location level, this is where the NetSuite planning workbench can really start to shine, of allowing us to take that, any demand within the system and drive it down into, component levels for purchasing as well as work orders. So we can see that I've got, working at my planning workbench for one of my contract manufacturer's location for this True Skin Serum. So for the True Skin Serum, what we can do is we can put a bill of materials in within the system that drives different components towards this finished good. And if we look at across this planning workbench, we can see that we've been able to, based off of actuals in history, run a demand plan within NetSuite, and then kick off, and netting the corresponding supply. So if I drill into the supply here, maybe for this cap that goes on the jar for the specific serum box, you can see that we have some planned orders out there that we've already firmed and released out to purchasing so that they can take action on that, which we'll see in a second. But the great thing about this planning workbench is being able to understand what is driving not only your demand for component items, but where it's coming from. So from this one planned purchase order, I can start to peg down to see that, it's off of a planned work order for that True Serum, and even another step further of where that work order is coming from. So it's driving from, a finished good demand plan we have for this, True Skin Serum foundation. So really giving you the visibility from a planning perspective to make sure that, you're accurately accounting for all demand in the system and making sure you're doing it in a lean approach as well. So once I've got my planned purchase orders out there, that's where we can use, I highlighted that reminder on the NetSuite dashboard to drill into our order items page, where now we're able to see the items that we need to purchase from a managed by exception perspective. So right from the order items page, I can see, those planned orders for my cap 1 ounce that we had just looked through the MRP. And also have, the flexibility of multiple different ways of, creating purchase orders and planning items within NetSuite from a simple reorder point perspective as well. We're able to put mins and maxes on our items and have that filtered through this exception list as well, giving us visibility just into the items that we need to purchase, as well as the visibility into, okay, why exactly is this item showing up on my list? What was the reorder point for the stocking level for this location? And what's the recommended quantity to get us up to our preferred stocking level? Obviously, I have the flexibility to change these as necessary, whether it's a reorder point or whether it's the planned order, to give me that flexibility at the time of purchase. Right from this page, I can select the items that I wish to purchase and submit for NetSuite to kick off and automatically generate purchase orders at a location and vendor consolidated combination to allow you much easier management of, one, creating multiple POs across multiple different vendors at once, but then, have this streamlined approach of managing them from a consolidated PO. So once that purchase order process is kicked off, we'll get a PO in the system. One thing I do want to note is the ability to have an approval process on this PO. So this is a, based off of our workflow functionality that allows us to, generate custom business workflows through the NetSuite system. So any invoice, any transaction within the NetSuite system can be generated an approval workflow for it using this very simple drag and drop kind of Visio type platform, which allows us to set up, limits on purchase requirements, limits on approval requirements, a hierarchy of approvals, whatever it needs to be. In this case, it's for an invoice, but we have the flexibility to do that on any type of business transaction. And going back to the PO, we can see all the items that have been purchased, what any type of billing terms are, where this is, what the location we're shipping this to. So we can see that we're purchasing these raw goods and shipping them to our contract manufacturer to prep for some work orders that need to be built, as well as any type of communication that exists for this PO. Once the PO has been received, this is where we're able to bill our purchase orders within the NetSuite system. So, as POs are moved in that receipt status, we can start to kick off our bills en masse. And what's going to happen here is NetSuite can manage a three-way match process within NetSuite that's going to match your original PO, the item receipt record within NetSuite, and the bill to make sure that we're within certain tolerances and give you proactive reminders if not. Once we have bills in the system, we have the same type of process with bill payments where we can go through and generate mass bill payments as well, or the ability to generate bill payments off of bills on a one-by-one basis, so you so choose. So there's flexibility in the process as well. So once we have those items at that contract manufacturer location, that's where we can follow, the life of our serum product, our skin serum, through even further with the work order. So, NetSuite supports an outsourced manufacturing process where we can, issue work orders to contract manufacturer locations, and on completion, automatically create transfer orders to whether it's a 3PL warehouse, a warehouse we own, maybe it's a retail location, whatever it needs to be. And from this work order, we can dictate exactly what the assembly product is that we're building. We have the ability to put multiple bill of materials to an item, so exactly what BOM and BOM revision are we building, certain requirements around start dates, end dates, and actually the tracking of actual production time, as well as the ability to issue off and generate these specific item transactions. From the related records, this is where we can see the actual item, the actual build that was taking place through the NetSuite ecosystem. So when we actually built this product in contract manufacturer, how do we backflush those components? And again, we're associating for the actual GL impact of our inventory transactions as well. As you can see, we're moving and crediting the component stock inventory and debiting there the amount on hand in our finished good, representing the quantity impacts that are being taken place within our NetSuite environment as well for the item. So now we have an item built and we maybe transferred it to the 3PL. This is where we're able to begin selling our product again. So maybe we have another sales order for makeup and stuff that just came through. And again, the great thing about this is being able to, run this out of multiple locations. So now we can see that we've transferred product to our 3PL warehouse from the contract manufacturer, as well as, the ability to run this out of multiple sales channels. So whether it's coming through some integrations we have with direct-to-consumer websites, we have pre-built integrations with, multiple EDI platforms. So in this case, maybe this sales order came through EDI. There's flexibility in how you're capturing the sales order detail and the detail around the sales order in of itself, whether it be items, how are we going to bill for this specific sales order? What is any shipping information that we need to capture up front? We have the ability to do so. So once we have the sales order, the integrated system is going to, kick that information to our warehouse in real time, because, we're all writing back to the same database. It can show up as a reminder to their dashboard, or have information sent to your 3PL, where we're able to generate these item fulfillment records where we're capturing, the fulfillment activity against the sales order for what items we fulfilled on the order. So maybe what type of shipping, or even, the package information where we can capture, was this one package or multiple packages on this shipment, and even down to the specific tracking information for each package. And to tie all the bow off, now that we've moved that sales order through fulfillment, we're ready to go ahead and bill this customer, where we have the ability to invoice sales orders one-off, or actually kick this off in a bulk process as well. Or in this case, I can see all of the sales orders that I've fulfilled within my warehouse that have yet to be billed. And, I can really streamline this process by processing them in bulk and having the system kick these off. So that wraps up, our NetSuite demo today. And I kick the floor back to Jake and company to, start our Q&A process.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Chaz. Great. Well, I will go ahead and pull this up. So thanks, Chaz, for that. I think now we're going to shift the focus more toward the panel discussion with Karl, James, Sam, and Alec. So Alec, I will turn it over to you to kick us off here.
Thanks, Jake, and great demo, Chaz. Thank you for that. Hopefully everybody got a good, quick flavor of the various ways that NetSuite can help them manage their business more effectively. Hello, everyone. I'm Alec Epstein. I'm a director with Myers-Holum. I've been with the firm for about 4 years. Prior to that, I was a NetSuite employee doing implementation work myself. And as a representative for Myers-Holum, we'll be guiding the conversation in partnership with some of our panelists here. And to get started, I think we'll go ahead and do introductions. And Sam has already graciously introduced ourselves and introduced himself and introduced NetSuite. So we'll go over to our gracious customers who've joined us. So let's start with Karl. Karl, if you could, would you mind introducing yourself, a little bit about your background, and then also Ilia?
Sure. Hey, everyone. All of my career has been in beauty, for a major part of it with L'Oreal, global company, working in the SAP environment. So familiar with ERP transactions, but also familiar with the frustrations of dealing with the large enterprise-based inflexible systems. So when I took the role at Ilia, which was very much a nascent company needing a lot of structure, to tackle personally like an ERP project and being able to vet the market and see what modern solutions look like was really exciting for me. So that's what led me to meet you guys at Myers and Sam and the team at NetSuite, and it's been a great project. I'm looking forward to share the details with the group on the call today.
Thanks, Karl. And James, if you could likewise introduce yourself and some insight or introduction to Credo.
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is James Tagliani. I'm CFO of Credo Beauty. Credo is all about clean, non-toxic beauty. We sell about 135 brands. The company was founded in 2014. We play in skincare, color, body, fragrance, and hair care. For me, it's my first time in beauty. I've been in retail for over 25 years, but mostly on the apparel side. And so it's been great to learn the beauty industry. For us, NetSuite was all about, the company was growing so quickly, and the complexity of the business was growing exponentially, whether it was, we have brick and mortar stores, we've got a robust digital channel, we have a private label and wholesale channel. So for a small company, we're relatively complicated. So NetSuite was brought in to help us navigate and be able to report out and have a lot more visibility around the company than what we had before with just a simplistic accounting system. So we put NetSuite in place about a year and a half ago, and we've been working with Myers-Holum, about the last year or so now. and having great success with you guys on navigating the implementation of NetSuite for us.
Yeah, thank you, James. Thank you for the intro. And so I think, I've got a line of questioning that we'll pursue here in the course of conversation, but if we steer left or steer right, that's always okay. And then likewise, there's a lot of folks on the attendee list here. We want to encourage you guys to, if you have any questions for any of the folks here, we're more than happy to address them. So as I go through mine, if any pop into your head, please don't hesitate to drop them into the Q&A section. But to get started, a lot of the folks who are attending the session here today are the leaders of beauty brands who are likewise experiencing some of the challenges that you all experienced when early on in your evaluation. And Karl, so I want to talk with you a little bit about your evaluation. What were some of the pain points that led you to consider a new application? You mentioned some of those, but if you could elaborate a bit more. And then what was that process like of going into an evaluation? What other vendors did you look at? What ultimately led you to make the decision to move forward with NetSuite and Myers-Holum?
Yeah, I think the slide that Sam put up earlier about the systems hairball was, I think, spot on. We did use QuickBooks for accounting. We had a very simple ERP system that basically only did order to cash, and even that with limited functionality, no integration with our Shopify store. So I was continuously manually updating information between the three fundamental systems, if I can say what our ecosystem was. And so of course, limited functionality, duplication of information, mistakes, etc. As well as when you're small, you have I can say without productivity leak, where you don't realize the amount of time you spend fixing things, because it may be 1 or 2 transactions a day that got jammed or incorrect or whatever. But as soon as you start growing, this really creeps into your life, and you realize that you're spending 1, 2, 3, full-time man hours or days per week fixing things. And so you start looking for something that can meet a lot of these needs. So we had a clear understanding that both myself and our CFO at the time, we kind of co-led this project. So we're looking for something that would meet the financial reporting needs of the company, as well as what would need the supply chain and procurement needs. So a lot of the outsourced manufacturing functionalities that NetSuite has were right up the alley that how our business operates. So we looked at NetSuite, we looked at Acumatica, we also looked at Microsoft Business Dynamics. All three have strengths and weaknesses. And out of the group, NetSuite was the solution that ticked off the majority of the boxes that we were looking for an ERP system. And the other huge benefit that comes from having that big established user base is the red squiggly lines that were on Sam's slide. So the integrations, which are the links between NetSuite and your Shopify store and your Amazon marketplaces, are just as critical. And I think that's where the guidance we got from Myers-Holum was key into helping us identify those right integrations to bolt onto this system to make it really robust and efficient, and do away with all those productivity issues or the time you spend fixing things instead of operating and growing your business.
Yeah, that's great. And I think majority of the you mentioned earlier, your Shopify e-commerce platform, integration to e-commerce, whether you're running a Shopify, you name it, any of the large e-commerce platforms, there are leading practices for how we integrate those with ERP applications. And so, it's people aren't alone in navigating those challenges, most definitely. And so we're happy to work with them in streamlining those flows so that they can kind of take a step back and let the orders manage themselves instead of them managing each and every order one by one. And that's really good insight, Karl. I appreciate that. And you also led a pretty what I would consider to be a pretty rapid and successful implementation, Karl, there at Ilia. And kudos to you for doing so. What are some of what sort of advice might you give to an organization, maybe some of the folks who are here on the line, as it relates to how they should be preparing themselves or their organization for this journey?
Well, no system's perfect, and there's change management. There's training. You have to do things differently. Our mantra was we're a small company. We were still quite, we were 12 employees at the time, and we're, not really robust. A lot of people wearing many, many hats, which is typical of small organizations. And so take advantage of the fact that we don't have these very established business processes in place to adopt the methodology of the system that we will buy. And that was, like I said, really our mindset from the beginning. And I think to your point, Alec, that's what made the implementation so quick and successful, is that we really stayed away from, well, we like to do this way, or we like to do this that way. So can you do this? Yes. NetSuite's incredibly versatile, incredibly easy to customize, even for a fairly novice person without, like say, professional help. But we really wanted to use the core NetSuite solution and adapt our way of working, roles, responsibilities inside the company to it, to make it quick, efficient, and also what I see the biggest value of these cloud-based solutions is that they're continuously being updated and improved with added functionality on a regular cycle, twice a year. What you don't see as a user is that there's a fair amount of testing that needs to go into this to make sure that when the new software version comes out, everything that you're doing today works in the next version. And if I can say, keeping you to the really kind of the nuts and bolts of how NetSuite is built and operating that way makes that all of these updates are seamless. And next thing you know, you get an email saying you've been upgraded to version 2.2. These are all the new neat things you can do. Like, really? We have this new error reporting, and you can start using it right away. And all the testing was done for you, behind the scenes leading up to it. And I think that's a real plus.
Yeah, no, that's great. Really solid feedback. I mean, especially for organizations who are early on with disparate systems, we tend to find that there's a lot of opportunity for us to improve and streamline processes. And so where there's some flexibility in that regard, especially if we're talking about the stairway approach that Sam mentioned earlier, the fastest and the least risky way to get on to the new application is always going to be using it as it as it comes out of the box. But to your point, a lot of organizations are faced with making an ROI decision when they're transitioning from an old system or an old process to a new one, and they have to say, well, is this something that is driving value to my business the way that I do it today? And if so, then certainly NetSuite's got the tools to help you in that transition. And I think that's a great transition for us over to James. And James, I know you guys have been using NetSuite now for some time. As you mentioned earlier, we've been working together for the last year, doing all sorts of interesting and exciting things. And you guys are growing and changing your business seemingly daily. What are some of the ways that you're taking advantage of the flexibility of NetSuite to take advantage of new opportunities in your business environment, kind of personalize it to meet your needs?
No, absolutely. I mean, just thinking back of the last year, which I think was one of the hardest years with the pandemic, being in a retail business. I mean, at least that I've been in the last couple of decades. Having NetSuite and the functionality to be able to look at different aspects of the business and analyze them really quickly gave us the ability to shift from brick and mortar to digital when needed, to be able to implement buy online, pick up in store, to really layer on different technologies so that we could navigate the pandemic and come out of it really strongly on the other side. Thinking back to what Credo must have been like before NetSuite, having been in other startups that are using and just based on QuickBooks or what have you, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So NetSuite really gave us the opportunity to look by store, to look at all of our employee base. We actually were able to shift quickly enough, and I thank NetSuite for giving us the ability to do it, that we didn't actually lay off or furlough any store employees. We shifted them all to our digital channel. But a lot of the really quick analysis, especially at the board level, doing a lot of analysis and scenario planning, we could never, or I could never have done that without the flexibility of NetSuite. And, again, given all the different channels and subsidiaries that we have here at Credo. So, and working with you guys has been great because you've been along for the ride. And, in our touch base meetings, it's like we're always changing stuff. It's just because the business is growing so quickly. and NetSuite has been so far able to keep up with us, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, James. And so a couple. One other thing I want to drill a little deeper into is digital, right? Obviously, everybody who's made it through from last year to this year has realized, wow, digital is really critical to the future. And there's a lot of talk and articles I'm sure you guys are all seeing across your feeds daily regarding the future of retail, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm curious to understand, dive a little more in depth. How are you guys expanding direct to consumer, or going about direct to consumer? What are some of your areas of investment, things like that going forward, James?
Well, obviously digital was a huge component to our success in 2020. We continue to offer the customer, new technology, whether it is being able to contact a store associate through the website, whether it is, buy online, pick up in store, which, I come from, my history is like Gap, Old Navy, really, really big retail where that kind of stuff isn't, you've got a team that works on it and it works and all. But when you're with a small company, making any changes have risks to your numbers, right? So you might not know where your buy online pickup in store revenue is hitting or what the implications are for inventory and things like that. Here at Credo, it's even more complex because we have so many connectivity, bridges from like our POS system to our warehouse management system or what have you, whether or not, it's because you sell CBD or you don't sell CBD. There's so many complexities in the beauty business right now that are much broader than just channel, where you're selling your product. But in the digital world, you want to be able to offer whatever the newest thing is, whether it's AI, whether it's contact a store, and all of that stuff comes out every quarter. There's a new company that wants to A/B test with you or something, and we've been grateful to you guys and working with NetSuite in order to accomplish integrating those things, whether it is a short-term integration or a long-term integration. We've been able to keep the wheels on with NetSuite, which has been great.
Yeah, and we try to avoid the short-term integrations. That's for sure. We can. Business moves quickly, and sometimes you got to build things you're going to burn down the road. But at any rate, those are all ROI decisions we can make with numbers and be intelligent in making them. It's kind of transitioning over to the topic of operations. I know that one of the big challenges a lot of the companies who are on the line here face are supply chain issues, and we also have a question from Dawn here for both of you, James and Karl, to that's kind of right on track here. The question from Dawn was, how much are you doing with custom versus standard workflows, and in particular in the areas of procure to pay? I don't know, maybe Karl, if you'd like to tackle that to start.
Yeah, on the procure to pay side, we've done basically the only customizations we've done are, I'll say, simple ones for efficiency. Automatically populating fields, for different accounts, payment terms, things like that, where you have information that lives in other parts of the system, and because we want them to default to certain fields to speed up, if I can say, the processing. And those are easy to put in, and like I said, they don't put you in a world where you are like very, very different than the core solution, so that you have to, have really top of mind all those evolutions. So that's what we've really kind of limited it to so far. I just have to say, on the outsourced manufacturing module and the functionalities in NetSuite are new. We still have a lot of, I can say, our legacy Excel processes, and then we kind of bounce between NetSuite and the if I can say, our old ways of working, because there are certain things that James mentioned, like scenario planning, that are just easier to do, if I can say, when you have a simple product catalog and a simple kind of you can do on a spreadsheet faster, and then go into NetSuite and create those work orders and have all the rest of the procure to pay flow be automated.
Got it. So some uniqueness there in those processes. That's great. Thank you for that. And I know, one of the other things that's really critical on the supply chain side that you mentioned earlier, James, is clean, right? That's like one of the biggest trends in beauty right now is traceability, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe Karl, I know, you as a operations lead, you're accountable to, inventory accuracy and lot traceability and all those sorts of things, just like everyone else. Can you help us understand how you're leveraging NetSuite? Yeah.
Yes, I mean the specifically the lot traceability feature we're not using because it is. I think it's very useful for if you have like a pharma OTC environment. Like the vast majority of our catalog doesn't fit that, so we work with our 3PL partner to ensure that FIFO is respected, so we can monitor lot numbers, expirations that way. But we don't use the built-in functionality because it becomes it's overly rigid, if I can say, for the needs of our business.
Yeah.
We have flexibility that we can leverage while ensuring FIFO, ensuring we don't have we're selling expired products. Whereas the lot
and you're
100%,
you're 100% 3PL fulfillment, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So that also makes a lot of sense.
And we also only have one stock location, which makes all of that, if I can say, management quite streamlined.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And maybe James, if you could add that as well. I know clean is really important to you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about how NetSuite's helping you sort of manage your supply chain, if you could.
Yeah, I think for us, it's really having the increased visibility, especially on the like for us, we go through a lot of detail around cost of goods sold adjustments because we have stores that are marking product out of stock. Being in clean, things they expire after periods of time, so you want to maintain the right product for your customer that you're selling in store. There's also there are things like I'll give you an example, testers, right? We have agreements with our vendors that testers get charged back to individual brands. That was a really super manual process in the past. Now it's just a simple pull out of NetSuite of all the samples that were sent to a store over a period of time. So it makes reporting out to our vendors and our brands that support us a lot easier in understanding the consumption that's being used, say, on the sample side. So all of that is important because clean is not only not having toxic things in the product and the ingredients list, but it's also making sure that the packaging is sustainable, and that the packaging of the product is within our standards as well. And we manage through all of that by looking at trends that NetSuite provides for us.
Yeah, and I have a lot of customers who really leverage some of the unique kind of like integrated CRM functionality, even as a supplier relationship management functionality, in order to scorecard or manage interactions, do business reviews, and vet suppliers, or maintain certifications and things along those lines systemically as well, which is helpful. So that's great, and glad to hear it. So we had another question that came in. Yeah, Karl,
thing, Alec,
please.
on that point, that's really overlooked. The fact that NetSuite allows you to document, like when you think, oh, there's a CRM module, so that's just for customer service, right? But to do it in your day-to-day interactions with vendors, in the purchase order directly, or in the invoice record, and you can attach files. So if there's a dispute or whatever, you just drag and drop the PDF in there. You have the history of that case. So it's in the not only in customer-facing processes, but in regular, if I can say, procure-to-pay interactions, it's super flexible and really easy to use and really valuable to keep track of all these things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like suppliers buyers rather, are suddenly being provided with the tools that all the sales team gets to leverage for like simple productivity and communications management, and it's nice. That's the benefit of a unified suite, right? They build something for the sales org, and all of a sudden the procurement team gets to benefit from it, or they build something for an apparel company and the health and beauty industry gets to benefit from it. Those sorts of things. The unified model. There was a question that came in from an anonymous attendee. I think is really always at the forefront of our customers' minds. We get asked this question, I think, like daily. So let's maybe go James and then Karl. James, did you end up hiring a dedicated system admin or system administrator for NetSuite? Do you guys have somebody specifically who manages it, or is that managed by business process people? Or?
It's actually a great question. I started with Credo when our integration was delayed. So we had to delay it for a couple of months. We just didn't have the right partner to do a seamless integration. We actually ended up bringing someone on board that wasn't you guys, that wasn't super helpful. So I think the moral of the story is, as you're getting ready to do the integration, make sure you have the right partner. Make sure that you understand what the talent pool is within the company. We don't have engineers or any of that kind of jazz. So, for us, we had some pain points with integration that we're working through. I think with you guys, with Myers-Holum, we've made the most progress as far as getting our system to where we want it. But it's a great question. I would say, don't be penny wise, pound foolish, and make sure that you've got the right and the right partners for setup, and that also you're being realistic on things like timeline and be realistic about how complex your company is, what you want to build into the system.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, James. Karl, what about you guys at Ilia?
No, I mean, we didn't have full-time IT before, and we don't have it today. I think that is the absolute benefit of these cloud-based solutions. That maybe the difference with James' organization. I'm an engineer myself, so maybe I'm a little more interested in the nuts and bolts of what underneath the hood of how these things work, but not to the extent where you need to have somebody monitoring and faults or whatever and errors and all that. These cloud-based solutions are, they run themselves. Somebody is maintaining them for you. And like I said, the updates are vetted before they go through. And then when you wake up one morning and you've been upgraded. And that's really for a small company, that is, an expense that we're gladly outsourcing until the day where, let's say the workload or the amount of customization, really, that would be the driver for us, that you want to do on an ongoing basis justifies bringing, full-time bodies. We're also partnering with Myers on an ongoing, like I say, kind of support contract, but it's really just for further optimization. We're finding more and more ways, the more we use the platform, of creating shortcuts, right? I said finding more efficiency, and that's where you guys have been really helpful in streamlining a ton of business processes, more elaborate reporting, et cetera, et cetera. So that we're partnering with a company like Myers on the outside, but nobody's been brought on full-time to our staff because these, like I said, these cloud services kind of maintain themselves.
Yeah, thanks, Karl. And I think my general response to folks is that there's definitely learning involved, and I wouldn't be a good consultant if I didn't set people's expectations that there's going to be some learning and change management as a part of this project. So everybody has to be involved. We work with some organizations that are larger organizations, where they do have dedicated IT resources, and we're transitioning their skill set into NetSuite, or helping them, become engaged in the project. And they have a pretty hands-on role, but we also have a large number of customers that we've worked with for a decade who have never had an IT resource. And either we are, or NetSuite's, they rely on NetSuite support, which is phenomenal, 24/7 support, or their advanced customer support offering, which is an additional ongoing support package. There's a lot of resources out there to provide that sort of fractional system administration services that you may need, which is really more common amongst mid-market NetSuite customers than for them to go out and just have hire a full body, because generally the ongoing administrative work for a small mid-sized organization running NetSuite is not sufficient to justify a full-time employee.
Right.
So great. Well, I think that was a great question. I appreciate the person who asked that one, and I'll mark it complete here. We're at about the time here, so we've got about 4 minutes left. I don't have any other questions. What I want to do is see if Karl or James, maybe each of you, we can go to Karl and then James. Any sort of kind of parting thoughts on the discussion here, and recommendations for business leaders who maybe have been here on the webinar, listening to what we're saying and considering their next steps. So Karl.
Yeah, I mean, so far NetSuite's been a great move for us. It's made our ability to, we've been very fortunate that even though we are still, I think, with tail end of a pandemic, that our business has been able to thrive in a very healthy category that is clean beauty. A lot of the growth that we've experienced would not have been possible with our legacy platforms. And the fact that we were able to actually pull up our NetSuite implementation when the pandemic hit, and our, I'm gonna say, internal consensus with our CEO was, well, you know, if there's going to be a downturn in business, we're probably going to have idle hands. So let's, you know, just step on the gas and do this NetSuite project right now, because we thought this pandemic or the COVID was going to be only a few months, right? And by summer we'd be out of it, and we'll have a brand new ERP system, and we'll be raring, you know, ready to go. Funny how that played out. Nevertheless, we did accelerate the project, like we said. We did it as stock as possible, and it was virtually seamless. The day we went live, you know, we had more issues with, if I can say, our retail partners, or people like sending the orders in the right format, that or things like that, that nothing had to do with what the work we had done. Everything was working seamlessly on the accounting and the procurement side. So it was a great project for us. And now we have this amazing platform that we're continuously improving ourselves with the help of Myers, as well as bolting on this whole ecosystem of other cloud solutions that are built for NetSuite. That same thing, plug and play, simple implementation, and adds more functionality.
Awesome. Thanks, Karl. And James?
Well, it's great to hear, since Credo, one of our top sellers is Ilia. So I always want to make sure that we're getting all of our inventory in. So if it's simpler through NetSuite, awesome. For us, you know, we just, again, we could not have managed through the pandemic without the flexibility and the visibility of NetSuite. So, and then we could not have also managed through the pandemic without the partnership of Myers-Holum. So having you guys on our side and putting up with us was you know, one of the key ingredients for us managing through successfully the pandemic. So I thank NetSuite and I thank Myers-Holum.
Thanks, James. And I want to thank the both of you all for joining us and attending. We know you guys have busy you know, busy lives and substantial responsibilities at each of your businesses. So we appreciate on behalf of all of the attendees, we want to thank you for your time and your insight. And we want to thank also all of the attendees for joining and contributing, especially all of those who are potentially considering NetSuite. We hope you saw what you like, and we hope to hear from you soon. And thank you, Sam, as well, for joining from the NetSuite team and the support of the NetSuite organization. As always, Myers-Holum really appreciates that. With that, I think we will go ahead and close our webinar, and wish everybody a happy rest of their day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys.